be on. Uh, as you guys come on, let us know who you are. We want to talk to you real quick. We are glad to be on today. We're so glad to be on today. It's another great Wednesday, another opportunity. We are experiencing some severe technical difficulties, but we are going to go ahead and press on anyway. And so we're glad to be on today. We're glad that God has allowed us this space to come on, and we want to hear from you today. So can you just let us know who's coming in, who's coming in today, and we want to talk to you while we're in on this space. If you are in, we're just checking real quick, and we're just looking to talk to you today. So we're glad today, as we talk about the last dance. We talked about that on Sunday, and we are so glad to be back and kind of discuss this today and allow God to really show himself up in a major way. So we're glad to be on, glad to be in the house, and got my spiritual father in the ministry, and my father. So we're just glad to be on today. And we talked on Sunday from Exodus chapter 17, verse 9. Exodus chapter 17, verse 9. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about that. So if you haven't read Exodus chapter 17, this is a great time to go and check that out. And as we talked about Moses and Joshua, basically in one of their last battle, and so we're excited. We call it the last dance, and I'm not sure he's on right now, but we want you to just come in and let us know who you are as you come in today. Let us know who you are as you come in today.
Yes, sir. Glad to be on tonight. Great week, and we're excited about all that's happening. This great last dance that we're going to enjoy tonight. As I heard a guy say, I think that was you this Sunday when you go to the party, when you're out there and everybody be sitting around all night, but when the DJ says last dance, people start moving because they don't want to miss. So we're excited tonight as we enjoy this last day.
Yes, today is a great time, and the name of the series is called The Last Dance, and it's that premise that we talked about. And that last season, basically just Phil Jackson and all of them were basically having a lot of behind the scenes issues. And when you see a team that's very successful, no matter who it is, whether it's Moses and Joshua, or Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan, the rest of them, there is always conflict. And I just want to say, conflict is a necessary dynamic in your team. No matter what team you are, what team you have, conflict is a part of it. How you deal with conflict, but every season has some areas where there is conflict. Every season has areas where there is conflict. And one of the things that we talked about on Sunday was that we know that every season has conflict, but that because of conflict in every season, we got to understand and come from the perspective that the fight that we must go through sometimes is inevitable. There are some seasons where the fight is just inevitable. I mean, Joshua and Moses were in this chapter, and they're going along on their business, and all of a sudden, the Amalekites just show up and just start attacking them out of nowhere. And sometimes these types of things happen. Sometimes these types of things happen in our lives where we're doing everything right. We're making all the right moves. We're saying all the right things. We're going to all the right places, and all of a sudden, the fight shows up. A lot of times it happens in the wilderness because we don't know where we're going. But in this season, they were trying to find the right spot, and they were doing the right things. But all of a sudden, here we go with the fight, and it shows up, and they're trying to deal with that. If you look at Exodus chapter 17, verse 9, it says that the Amalekites came, attacked the Israelites, and Moses said to Joshua, choose some of our team and go out and fight the Amalekites. He said, choose some of our team and go out and fight during that time. And I just wanted to say, sometimes there are some issues that come up, and we just have to deal with the issues as they come up. We just have to deal with it.
Conflict is like conditioning. I noticed one of the big popular things now is when people are working out, trying to build their bodies. They've started a concept in the last few years called cross-training, where you do a lot of different types of things. You don't just do the same repetitive sets. You just don't tone one way, but you break it up to where your body has to constantly adapt and adjust and grow with the differences of things that's coming at it. And life is much the same. Life will just cross you up. And we have a lot of things coming at us on a daily basis, but God wants us to grow. And so through the conflict, we actually get stronger. It's through that God makes us better. And so conflict is okay because we know that those things will work together for good if we keep believing God, just like what happened in Joshua's life and in Moses' life. In this text, the Amalekites brought conflict, but God brought victory.
That's really just how God works. Conflict shows up, and I just believe that it's our perspective during conflict that really opens the door for our promotion or keeps us in the same spot. But during this text, we see some great things, because what it shows us is that conflict is inevitable, but we have a choice in perspective. Conflict is inevitable, but we have a choice in perspective. I'm going to say that one more time. Conflict is inevitable. There's always going to be some sort of conflict in our life, but we have a choice in the outcome. So if I keep the right perspective, even in the midst of a conflict that it looks like I am truly unprepared for, it allows me to cross-train in some other areas and allow God to really truly strengthen me to be all that He has for me to be. I really believe that. And how do we make the choice is the question. How do we make those choices? He says, Joshua, choose you some of your men. Choose some of the men that's going to go out there and fight with you. Choose you some men that's going to go out there. And this means that every conflict has some sort of initiative. And so me making choices, I can't make choices in a vacuum. I got to say that. I can't make choices in a vacuum. And a lot of times as superheroes or as leaders, we tend to try to solve problems on our own. We tend to try to take over. And even in the last dance, one of the things Michael Jordan said, he didn't win a championship until he learned how to believe in his teammates. And even in this text, you see Moses, before we get to this text, it has been told by his father-in-law that he's got to pass off some of the responsibility. And here Moses he's passed off some of that responsibility. And here Joshua is picking and choosing people to go with him because he knows that he can't fight this battle by himself. And so when you have conflict, you got to ask yourself, am I trying to solve this on my own? That's going to lead to you being disconnected to what God is trying to send your way, because he sends stuff your way through the people that are closest to you. So what am I doing? Am I seeking out help from others? Am I seeking out help from the people around me? Am I seeking out help from those, and sometimes you just got to have a think tank when conflict happens. And so as I'm doing that, as I'm going through that process, as I'm going through that process of trying to find initiatives that work in the midst of conflict, this allows me to know that I'm never alone. And I think that's really the way God works, and the enemy works quite the opposite, is that he likes for us to be all alone. Matter of fact, when we talked about the sheep the other day, the sheep were always on their own, and because they were on their own, that's why they weren't always on their own. They had a good shepherd. But when they were on their own, that's when they were the most vulnerable.
True. And I like the fact that God teaches us to use what we have. A lot of times we're looking for other resources, but even in this text, Moses, he said, I'm going to the top of the hill, I'm going to stand up there, and while I'm standing there, I'm going to keep the rod in my hand. A lot of the lessons that Moses learned in his pilgrimage with God revolved around the rod. And I remember one time Moses was in a dilemma, and God just simply said, but what do you have in your hand?
What do you have in your hand? That's it. And I like that because that shows us what our focus should be. Our focus, a lot of times, we make it on things that are outside of our control. But what do you have your hand on? Because you have your hand on something that he's put in under your authority, but it has supernatural ability. Moses had the rod without his hand on it, was just the ordinary rod, but as soon as he put his hand on it, because of what the rod represented, because of who Moses was to God, now the supernatural gets activated, because Moses takes responsibility for what's in his hand. So everybody has something in their hand, because every fight has a focus. Because it has a focus, I gotta find out what really works for me. Because what's in my hand is not the same as what's in somebody else's hand. What I'm responsible for I may not have the same responsibility that somebody else has. And so I can't look at somebody else and be envious. I've got to make sure that I'm holding on to what I have and making sure that I'm focused on God so that he can take what's supernatural and allow it to work through me for something great to happen in me.
God wants to bring out our best. And sometimes God has to take his geovistic hand and squeeze us. It's kind of like you can't have wine without first crushing the grapes. And if you don't crush the grapes, you don't get the wine. So we're just saying God wants us to grow, and God wants us to flow, and God wants us to be used. So God places us in situations where he forces us. Sometimes we don't want to do it, but God has to force us to see that the dependency is not on ourselves, but it's through him that we obtain the victory. And Moses showed us a good lesson in this, in that it was him, it was Joshua, and it was him, Aaron, and Hur when they were on the mountain. And he showed them how to overcome. When they went, they weren't sure, but as long as, and we'll see later, as long as they kept their hands up, as long as they kept their hands up, as long as they could hold Moses' hands and be of assistance to God, they prevailed. And that's what God wants us to see.
Amen. That is such a true and profound statement. I said that on Sunday, that there are two types of people that are in the conflict and that are around you. And because the conflict is inevitable, you got to know how to focus. And when you know how to focus, who you need to fight with becomes clear. Because when you look at your circle, if I'm the smartest person in the room, then that means everybody in the room needs me for resources, whether it's smarts, whether it's for connections, whether it's for whatever. but I need to make sure that I'm on an equal playing field and that I'm dealing and I'm talking to people that we can fight at the same. It's a reason why Moses told him to choose, because everybody wasn't ready for that particular battle. And because everybody wasn't ready for that particular battle, he didn't need people out there that needed him in this particular battle. He needed people that could fight with him in this particular battle. And I did a distinction between, there are two types of people. There are people who need you, right? And then there are people who feed you. There are people who need you, number one, but then there are people who feed you. The people who need you will drain you if you're not careful. And so you got to make sure that no matter what, in what season, no matter what's going on, no matter what it is, that somebody around me is feeding me. Because if somebody's not feeding me, then I become detached from the people that are surrounding me, and ultimately I become detached from God because I can't really find that connection. Anybody, you know, you gotta when I pick up this cell phone and it's been off for a minute and I turn it on, it says connecting to network. Nothing else works until this phone can connect to the network. If it hadn't connected to the network, none of the apps work, all of that. And so a lot of times when we're on a resource, when we're on an island to ourselves trying to fight this battle on our own, we become detached from people, detached from God, and then he has to reboot us all again so that we can connect and be at maximum power, because this phone has a lot of power, but if it doesn't connect, it's of no use to me. And a lot of us are like that, and we are just like that as Christians. We come in this world needing people, and we have to connect. And sometimes we got to be refreshed, sometimes we got to be renewed, sometimes we got to be restored, but I got to make sure that I can be all of those things so that I can be connected to what God has for me, connected to my purpose, connected to my plan, so that I can fight the good fight of faith. That's what I got to do.
Lord, please connect us.
We got to connect.
We got to have a source.
We got to be connected.
Thank you, Jesus.
We got to be connected.
I love, back in the text again, I love the fact that Moses knew what God wanted done, but he needed to be connected to those around him, so it became a team effort. It became a joint effort. And as long as everybody was doing their part,
yeah. It
says that as long as they held up Moses' arms, yeah, they prevailed. But when they would let go, because the work was heavy, and sometimes life is heavy, because the work was heavy, if his arms came down, then they would lose in the battle. Exactly. And here was Joshua down on the field, counting on them on the top of the mountain. And I just want to say, sometimes when we're going through these struggles, it's always somebody that's counting on us. And we got to do our part to keep our arms.
Exactly. That's a great example of an executive connection, because a lot of times, as when we're making executive level decisions, if you talk to executives, a lot of times they make them in a vacuum. Moses does basically the same thing. He holds up his hand on his own, but they realize that he can't do it on his own, and they've got to help him. And what happens is, as they are holding up his hands, then there's inspiration in the hands that are fighting in the battle. And so sometimes our help is in the heel, but it doesn't mean that they're busy doing anything but covering you in worship. His hands being lifted up was just to signify worship and the supernatural power of God. And I believe that's a great place to start a fight. That's a great place to continue a fight, and that's a perfect place to end the fight in a posture of worship.
Think about a fight. If you start it, somebody's got to finish it.
I agree. You got to finish it, and you got to finish it with God on the team, because there are people who need you, people who feed you, but you also got God that is sustaining you through all of that. So the great thing to know is that I don't have to fight this fight all by myself. I don't have to fight it all by myself. I don't have to fight it because God gives me favor. in every finish, to every fight, God already gives it to me. Everything that I'm going to get, God has already released it to me. But he gives me favor for a few things. One, we talked about that on Sunday, is favor to forget. I can't tell you how many issues that I've had to deal with in my life that I wanted to remember. And remembering people who had wronged me caused me some great issues, great sorrow, great pain. But when I began to get close enough to God, that God began to show me how he could throw these issues into the sea of forgetfulness, then I began to be freed up to do what it is that God had for me to do.
Got to stay in the fight. We don't win unless we stay in the fight, and that's the thing that God gives us is stay power. We got to believe God and trust God and stand with God, and God will deliver. God will bring us through. God then will show us that he can do exceedingly abundantly above anything we can think or even imagine. But we've got to stay through the fight, and I just think it's a great encouragement. If we're gonna make it to the end of the dance, we've got to have some stamina. We've got to be willing to stay with God and trust God for the outcome, and not be deceived by our own little mindset. Sometimes we grow weary in well-doing, but God will prevail, and so we've got to stay with God. And I just thank you for the thought that you put in my heart, that if we just stay with God, God will stay with us.
Yes, he'll stay with us, because it's not our fight, it's the Lord's. It's God's fight anyway. It's not for us to fight, it's God's fight. And even in this, he says, if you just fight, you get to the end of this text, and he basically said that, hey, we're going to blot out their name, and we're going to forget them. And so that is where God is trying to get us to go. If we just focus on him, he allows us to forget some things, and then he allows us to be used. He becomes our banner. And he says, okay, when you forget it and you just move the way I want you to move, and you find the resource in me, and you focus on me for the good that I have bestowed upon you, then check this out. I become your banner. And so every season, every bad place becomes a testimony to what God has for you. Every time people counted you out becomes a testimony to how God counted you in. Every time somebody says this is the end, then that big place becomes a banner for just what God did to bring you in. There are some jobs that I was counted out of, but then that place became a banner. I began to testify, number one, that I did. Anybody got a testimony of a job that you didn't get? And then when you didn't get it, God had something better along down the line. And so because God has something better along down the line, that not getting it became your banner for that season, which was a testament to what God had along the line for you at the end. And so every time there's conflict, there's also a God that works in the midst and in spite of the conflict, so that he can hang his banner in the midst of your situation.
Tell them we're going to make a memorial.
That's right.
We're going to make a memorial so that people, we're reading this passage tonight because God said make a memorial. He wanted us today in 2020, when we get downtrodden and get a little worried about whether we're going to make it or not. He said, I want you to have something that you can read and see how if you stand with me, I'll stand with you. If you can't make it, I'll hold you up. And how many of you know that there have been times when you didn't think you would make it, but if it had not been for God on our side, if it had not been from him holding us up when our enemies come against us, when our circumstances were about to crush us, he said, that's your memorial. So as you move through life, just write you an epitaph and say, if it had not been for God, and keep on moving, because you've got to make it to the last day.
That's right. And I believe that as we do that, God truly does honor our faithfulness. It's just up to us. Are we going to work hard? I said, you could have called their seasons, the Buddha season, the last fight. You could have called it a whole bunch of stuff, but he called it the last dance. One thing I said is because he knew that was the end, and rather than begrudgingly approach the season why not let's go out on a high note? And so when you go to the club, when I used to be in my clubbing days and go to the club, the DJ would say, this is the last dance. And so that's the last dance for the night. And so you better enjoy it, because at the end, that's it. And so that's kind of the way our life is. Our life is a series of issues and problems. Each level, somebody said, has a new devil. But because of who God is, the last dance becomes the next dance. Because what happens with God is he allows us to grow, and he allows us to go into the next season, so that God has releases something even greater with our name on it. We used to sing this song called God's Got a Blessing with my name on it. And so I don't have to worry about what is killing me, because I see a God who's blessing me. And so what I want to do tonight, I thank you first for getting on, but I want to let you know tonight that since we've been doing this online, in this online space, that it's really been a great thing. It's such a new thing. We have technical difficulties every week, because this is a new level of doing ministry that we're doing, and so we're trying to work that out. But I want to encourage you to be a partner with us. I want you to encourage you to partner with us, whether it's serving with us or just giving to us. I really think that it would be an honor if you just decided today was a great day to give. What we do is just through giving, we are able to be sustained through the gifts of people like yourself, and so we thank God for that. If you received the Tribune paper, keep your eyes open. They came out and wrote an article on some of the ministry that we're doing. Humble ISD even came by, and they delivered us a certificate for being one of their preferred partners in some of the things that we're doing. And so if you believe in just being a person that shows love, if you are a part of the Show Love movement, which we are, we want you to partner with us. It would be an honor for you to give to us. Go to the website at tlchumble.org/give and give to what we're doing. tlchumble.org/give. If you know somebody that's hungry, that they need a meal, that's in Humble, Texas, you can come out to the church, 40 Wilson Road, every day from between the hours of 1 to 3. And it's in those hours that we're giving away meals for people who may not have meals. And so we don't ask anything. You just come up, you just give us the names of your family members, your children in your household, and we'll bless you with a meal. If you're all close to the Haverstock and you're on the northeast side and you're in the Beltway area, we're over in Haverstock Hills Apartments, and we're giving away meals too. So we want you to be a part as we try to be a blessing to the community, as we try to be a blessing and show love to all of God's people. We want you to be a part with us. And so if you see that as being something that you would be interested in, we would be honored for you to be a part. So let us know in the comments, let us know even on our website if you'd like to. But we just want you to help us show love to the Humble community. With that being said, we want to thank you for being a part. We want to encourage you to share this with your friend. Just click this, share it in somebody's inbox, share it on your page. Do that and be a blessing to the ministry. We thank you for being on tonight. Glad that you could be on.
Man, thank you, Pastor. And just keep holding your arms up.
Hold them up.
And if you get tired, ask somebody to come help you hold them up, because God's got a blessing and he's got your name on it. So let's all stay together, let's be together, and let God bless us richly. Thank you.
Amen. Until Sunday, be watching for us. We'll be back Sunday, 10:45.